Ori and the Will-O'-the-Wisp was nothing but a delight to play through. Improving upon almost every facet of the original, Will-O'-the-Wisp took an immediate hold of me and didn't let me go for any of the ride. With the story just as emotionally as impactful as the first game and gameplay that feels tighter and tactical, Will-O'-the-Wisp isn't just a gem of a video game, but it's the best video game to come out of Microsoft Game Studios in years. Opening up immediately after the events of the Blind Forest, we are treated to the hatching and childhood of Kuro's last egg. They're an adorable little owl who sadly is born with an injured wing. Growing up without their parents, this hatchling has to slowly learn to deal with life, like learning to fly with only the help of their chosen family. However, things quickly go amok during one flight training day, separating Ori and the baby owl from the rest of their friends. Now finding themselves way beyond their forest home, the two must reunite and survive. Like Ori in the Blind Forest, the story here is told through animated cutscenes and narrated dialogue that tells the story of Ori as if you were being read a children's book. It's a whimsical and magical way to tell the story, helping its delivery come off more like a long-lost fantasy or legend. That emotional fantasy narrative immediately took a grasp on me and never let me go, taking me along for another heartfelt adventure. It follows similar themes of love, loss, and redemption that always felt center stage throughout the campaign. As a follow-up to the already touching predecessor, it didn't disappoint. In just about every shape and form, Will-O'-the-Wisp feels like an evolution of its predecessor. Yeah, it does trend some aspects of the original, but never did it feel safe in following everything to a T. Instead, the sequel finds new and interesting ways to flesh out the classic Metroidvania gameplay with a new take on combat and abilities. Gone is the partner that would help you fight off enemies by blasting projectiles at nearby enemies. Instead, that's now being replaced by a melee weapon called the Soul Edge. It's practically a sword, but a great one that lets Ori attack nearby enemies while feeling fierce and powerful in the process. Along with the Soul Edge are other sets of moves that are unlocked along your journey. Up to 3 moves can be mapped to the face buttons on your controller. These moves can be remapped at any point during gameplay, so you're never truly stuck with what you have mapped at a certain point in time. This leaves Ori feeling truly powerful, being able to swap between shooting arrows, attacking with the Soul Edge, and ending it with the projectile attack. Perhaps you'd rather have the ability to heal during battle instead, and that's an option too. After all, this is your Ori. This new approach to abilities not only fleshes out the opportunity for new Metroidvania puzzles, but it also completely changes Ori to a hack and slash game, feeling like a 2D Devil May Cry game, and it's fantastic. Collectible shards act as a currency that is used to unlock new charms and collectibles to aid you on your journey. Scattered across the open world are NPCs that not only provide you side quests and challenges, but oftentimes offer you items to aid you on your exploration, like a map to an undiscovered area. Like I mentioned earlier, these can also be used for new powers, like being able to launch yourself using projectiles, or perhaps using a lasso to grab faraway objects. It's up to you to decide which powers you spend your shards on, letting you shape your own playthrough of Ori to your own taste. A well-welcome change to the sequel is the more traditional boss fights. While the last game had bosses that tended to chase Ori down corridors, Will-O'-the-Wisp features the traditional boss format of having you face a large enemy in a closed-off environment. It's a great addition to the series that had me studying the pattern of enemies and quickly swapping between my different abilities. I always felt intimidated by a new boss, but also equally excited to lash out my powers against them. These foes were always large and staggering, but through the many hours of tight platforming and combat gameplay, over its 12-hour campaign that's about roughly double the length of its predecessor, Will-O'-the-Wisp kept a smile on my face the whole time. I got lost in exploring its beautiful environments, I was encapsulated by its marvelous presentation, and I was enamored by the new take on Ori's traditional gameplay. I didn't think it was possible, but Will-O'-the-Wisp outshines Ori in the Blind Forest in the visuals department. It combines the beautifully crafted 2D visuals of the predecessor with 3D elements and improved lighting to make what I think is the best looking game on Xbox platforms. It's absolutely stunning and immediately shows off its flair with an introduction video and scene that I was astonished was even on an Xbox One X. Seeing the light shafts peek through the precisely layered background that in itself helps create a living world, it was simply magnificent. Despite being on a 2D plane, never did I feel like Ori's world was confined. It was large, lavish, and filled to the brim with life, both cute and terrifying. The large-scale environments take you way beyond the forest to show you a wide diversity of terrains and creatures. Running on an Xbox One X, Will-O'-the-Wisp scales up to a native 4K resolution with a frame rate that hovers around the mid-50s to 60 frames per second mark. On Xbox One S, that's dropped down to a dynamic resolution of 720p to 900p with a frame rate that hovers between 40 to 60 frames per second. It's true that this game can be a tad taxing on older hardware and even pushing the more powerful Xbox One X. It's a beautiful game, but one that arguably can be a bit too intensive for older hardware. Where I would describe Ori and the Blind Forest's soundtrack as shy and ominous, evoking all the feelings of a young and scared Ori, Will-O'-the-Wisp is the opposite. In this sequel, Ori is older, braver, and stronger. He isn't that young child that was scared of the forest anymore. He attacks everything in his way, facing the world head first. To reflect that change, the soundtrack plays with new themes that give off a sense of adventure and wonder. Going hand in hand with the story's writing and presentation, Will of the Wisp music is the metaphorical cherry on top of the emotional sundae this game is. It made the feelings of loss hit a new low, while the moments of so-real happiness brighter than ever. Gareth Coker has outdone himself creating a soundtrack that is well worth listening to, even if for some reason you decide to skip out on this game. Beyond its soundtrack, sound design is given so much attention to detail that equally creates a lovely ambient environment. The music may be on a league of its own, but the sounds of the forest, the creatures, and life overall play just as much of an important role here. Ori Will of the Wisps is the best first-party Xbox game of this generation, and arguably the best looking game on the console. Its tight controls and gameplay are beautifully paired with stunning visuals, a moving soundtrack, and a story that tugged at my heartstrings. It evolves in just about every department from the original, somehow raising the bar for what was already a stellar start to the series. It may have some technical hiccups here and there, but by the end of the adventure, they were overshadowed by the masterpiece I had just finished. Ori and the Will of the Wisps sets a new precedent for Metroidvania games, and Microsoft's first party as a whole. This is a must-buy.